hospice, so it's
Right.
definitely, it's not a fun test.
At all.
It's a test that I'll pass every once in a while, but I feel like I should fail it,
Mm-hmm.
because it stinks. But oh yeah, I forgot. Were you the one that said you'll come at this time every time?
No.
Okay, so then we're just waiting on at least one. Cool. How's everything else going though? You feeling okay?
Yeah, no, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Just tired.
Yeah, we got exposed to it like 2 weeks ago. I think it was on a Sunday. My sister-in-law had it, and then my brother-in-law had it. He showed symptoms, so he didn't come to dinner. But my sister-in-law, not knowing she had it, came to dinner. So that's why my test last Thursday was the most important. I think. Well, I guess the one today too, and that one was negative. So I guess I'll find out Tuesday if this one was negative.
Right.
So we could all be asymptomatic too,
That's very true.
because it doesn't affect people like us as much. Let's see if this works. They give us these laptops now from the university, so I want to see if it actually works. Huh. Oh, okay, I should download it. I just realized that. Because right now I'm presenting it inside of Dropbox. Huh. That's fun. What other classes are you taking now?
Just this and research methods.
Who teaches research methods
I
anyway?
have no clue what her name is. I have no.
Is it hard? Is it like?
No, it's fine. It's.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be hard compared to. I thought it was going to be hard, but it's super easy.
Because you have an interest in doing the advanced standing stuff. Right?
Yes. Yes.
Heck yeah. Would you graduate and you do your internship whenever the twins are born? Right?
So I'll do it in the fall.
Cool.
But they'll be born in the spring.
Right. Yeah. That's always a fun deal. Are you guys doing anything just to? Do you get insurance through your job?
No, I'm on my mom's insurance.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, so you guys, I forgot. We had to actually stay in school to keep our darn insurance. So this was like back in the 90s.
I think now you just have to wait. Once you turn 26, then you have to get off.
Right, so as long as you're under your parents till 26, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I'm looking. Because co-pays are very expensive.
It's partly why I got my MSW and stayed in graduate school for so long. I just kept staying on insurance as long as I took 6 credit hours.
Mm.
It was good insurance. But do you have like a place where you're going to have them also?
So I've been going to Soin Medical Center since I was like 15, so I'm gonna have them there.
Cool. They have like a little hospital space and whatever delivery. That's
Yeah,
cool.
they have like a bunch of offices for like, they just have a bunch of offices in general in that hospital, which makes it even bigger. So, and then when I go to my appointments, I go to one of the offices in there. So.
Okay. Did you say you found out one of the sexes of?
I found out both, so it's a boy and a girl.
Oh, cool.
So.
Okay. Was that recent too?
I found out when I was 14 weeks,
Okay.
and I'm 18 now.
So they do it by do they do the ultrasound or do they do the
So I have blood test first,
Okay.
and that tells you one if you're pregnant with twins. And then on the 14th, we went to an elective place and then found out the genders. But I'm high risk, so when I was 15 weeks, I had to go see the high risk doctor, and then they told me the genders.
Why are they declared high risk?
Because if you're pregnant with more than 2, you're considered high risk automatically.
So twins are high risk.
Mhm.
Okay, that's interesting. Huh. That's yeah, because in February my wife becomes high risk.
When?
She'll turn 35.
Oh.
So we're like geriatrics, they call it. They for real call it geriatric pregnancy. It's like, what? I know. It makes you feel real old, but it's like.
Yeah, but you're not even old.
I know. Although I did go to the emergency room on Tuesday, I had pains like here and like here, and they always say if that happens, you want to go in right away. And they were like, take Pepsid AC and Tylenol, and that's all they gave me. So I guess it could be stress, it could be just doing too much, but it's definitely. I actually tried to. I thought there was nobody here, so I had a conference earlier today, and I walked about 3 miles and laps around the upstairs here. I just did while I was watching the conference.
That's a lot.
Because they're all like web conferences.
Mhm.
Then somebody came out the room like, "Oh, sorry, I'm in a conference." I thought they were just. I'm just walking laps around the hallway. But my goal now is to kind of up the exercise a little, cut out more of my Chick-fil-A, but I don't really want to. I like Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A is my favorite thing.
I know, yeah, that's the hardest thing too. To give up. They actually had it free at Hospice
Really?
Crossroads this morning, yeah.
Hmm.
But not vegetarian. Because usually, I think vegetarian is like a specialty order, which is kind of weird. You have to order it with, you order the biscuit, then you order the egg.
Mm-hmm. I don't eat eggs.
Really?
I hate eggs.
I do know some people do hate that.
I think it's, well, I eat like an omelet, but it can't have any, it has to have something touching it. Like, you know how the end of the omelet, there's nothing on it, just egg, I can't eat that part.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
it
so you
has to have
like-
something on it. And
you
it can't
like-
just be cheese.
Right. You like the meat and vegetables, and then you just like
Exactly.
throw out the. Interesting. So what is this? Adding Dropbox to your open and save menu. See, I'm such a Mac person. I have no idea how to navigate these things.
Maybe Android, well, not, it was at HP for a while, and then, it was for a year, and then I switched to Mac because I didn't understand it.
Crap! I have to download. Do you download this at Central State somewhere?
I have no clue how mine even ended up on my computer, I'm not even gonna lie.
That's funny. Did it come with it when you bought it?
I have no clue. I don't think I bought it, but I think
Okay.
you can download it. I think you have to go to the library website or something like
Watch them make me put in my dang credit card. This will be funny because I am not putting in the credit card. I'll download it free from the 62. That's weird. Huh. Such a weird, Microsoft is just weird to me. Yeah, stay signed in, please. Which type of group did you think that you were going to lead?
that. Wow, why did I forget? Self-care.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, cool.
And I plan on doing it next week too, so.
Oh, sweet, perfect. Okay, that's
just to get it
good.
out of the way.
All right, they're gonna make me put in the dang credit card. I am not giving them a credit card. So we're gonna go with right here, where it's always good. Because we're on like the initial stage of the group. I have it recorded anyway, and it's 6:06, so we'll roll. But whenever you're starting the group, and we can cruise through this, I'm sure you've got stuff to get back to. Is it Dayton that you drive to?
From Fairborn, yeah, Dayton, Fairborn.
Okay. And same here with,
But I always go to my mom's on
Did you?
She lives in Xenia, so.
Is it on? Oh, that's perfect. That's like on the way.
Well, I was raised in Xenia.
Okay. So actually, before I do this again, I am having the students do a, you probably remember doing this, it's called the field observation presentation, where you're supposed to go to, say, like a Walmart in Xenia, a McDonald's, or the Big Boy in Xenia, and sit down and observe. And since a lot of them are from, most of them are from bigger cities, just observing the differences from what they grew up with.
Mhm.
So now I'm curious from an insider's perspective, because I don't know if we've had too many Xenia people, like what you think they'll end up observing. It's kind of like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
going in, they're not really engaging anybody, or they're just going to notice, like apparently at Walmart, when they did it last year, a lot of them get followed, they check their bags, they
Yeah.
mark up.
They
Like,
don't follow me because they're used to me at this point. But
really? So how
until I
long?
was like a junior in high school, they didn't stop following
Really? And were you like the only person they would follow?
me. Basically, just people of color. So
And then how many people of color are in Xenia?
not as many as you would think.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. So I'm like,
Not as many as you would think. But during Christmas time, I get followed all over again.
really? Okay.
During the holidays.
I mean, I would be followed when I had a ponytail and I had dreadlocks. So I know that they do clearly observe your
Yeah.
physical appearance and like they thought I was a thief because I had a ponytail or dreadlocks.
Mm-hmm.
When I dress up, they don't follow me. When I dress down, they do. So I actually like kind of even dressing down and looking homeless sometimes because it's almost like my own experiment to, you know. But I've never had, only in Nicaragua, I've had to deal with the being a like gringo. So like the opposite being like lighter skin and like just the differences of exchanges with folks there. And every social work university has you do that observation experiment because we're going to see people from several different races and creeds and religions come to us at our practice. So just getting used to your like response and your own feelings with it. But when did you think they started noticing you? Like they're like, oh, they know me now, so they're not going to mess with me.
I feel like because they have basically the same few people standing at the door. And those are also the ones that check the receipts.
Okay,
so
right.
They got used to my face.
Like the elderly people, or is that okay?
One of the guys that stands at the door, he knows my name and everything else. So.
He's like, I know you bought what you got in that bag.
Exactly.
But
sometimes he'll still check depending on what's in the basket.
right, yeah. Gosh, yeah. I guess what's funny too. I feel like once I had someone at Kroger's check mine. They'll say like 22 items in here, count them. And I swear they didn't even count them. When I got home, I always checked my own receipts, and I'm like, dude, I didn't even pay for that. You know what I mean? So like they check, and then they didn't really check, and it was something maybe simple. When I went back and let them know, and they're just like, yeah, that's messed up. So I'm going to see how the students deal with this assignment, basically by. Some of them are starting to present. It's in 101. Did you take social work 101 here?
What class is that?
I guess it's 1101 here. So like intro to social work.
I didn't take it. No, I took that at Mount St. Joseph University.
Oh yeah. Okay, that's actually where my wife started, and now she's here.
I played basketball and lacrosse there. So.
Really? So were they good?
Our basketball team was not, but our lacrosse team was decent.
But they paid for your stuff.
It's D3.
Oh.
They just gave me like an academic scholarship, which was basically like a sport.
And did you finish a lot there, or just like half your classes?
Just my first 2 years.
Okay.
That was my first 2 years. Then I transferred to Wright State,
Okay.
which was a huge waste of money, and then I came here.
Just because Wright State, you weren't feeling it, or
that's when they went on strike. I was there when they went on strike.
And you didn't get any credits?
I did, but it was bad. So they lost my social work application in the midst of the strike. So after that, I was just like, I can't.
So you got all your money back at least?
No.
What? How much was that?
I mean, Wright State's a fairly cheap school, so I'd probably say about $7,000 for the whole year.
That's a lot of money, though.
But yeah.
You got no credits for $7,000.
Well, no, I got credits, but
okay.
it was just such an interesting semester because I had 5 classes, and then 3 of the 5 classes, my professors were on strike.
Mm-hmm.
And then so we had substitute professors.
I taught with all those professors because I taught at Miami with Wright State.
So bad.
Like Sarah, I think. She makes 6 figures. She was the director for a while. There's a woman from India, and I forget her name totally. And then there's like Doug, who's the field director.
No, I don't know any of them. I didn't get that far. So
Okay.
I didn't get that far. I was only there for 8 years.
But you got credits in other classes.
Yeah.
Okay. And they still transfer as long as you take half your classes here. Like if you got 62 at Mount St. Joe and Wright State, you'll just need to do 62 to graduate here.
Yeah, I think I transferred in here at 67.
Okay. I feel like that's what my wife, she did maybe 12 at Mount St. Joe, 50 at UC, like,
Not that
10.
Joe was so expensive though.
Yeah, I think that's why, and she
So
still has that debt, so when she was 19, it had to go in her dad's name, and now her dad's responsible for it, so it's actually kind of ridiculous, that whole setup, but.
It's expensive. It's a really nice school. I love that school. If I could afford it, I would just stay there.
Right, I'm glad she left, and she did Miami last year, and Miami Middletown is cheap. But then she's here now, and I guess she has to finish with like 62 hours here.
That's not bad.
Right, and she has probably, is this your, so it's your senior year, you probably are
Yes.
at like 100 and.
I have that. I think I want to say 106, 107.
And will they let you graduate with 124?
I'm pretty sure.
You don't have to take 62 here so that it's
No,
half.
I don't think so. No. They haven't said anything about
Right,
it.
yeah. Some universities are like, no, you gotta take half your classes here at this
That's-
place.
Yeah.
Right. Well, cool, okay. It's, we live on the west side of Cincinnati. It's not near Mount
So you
St.
guys
Joe.
drive all the way from Cincinnati here?
I do,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
I wondered if that was part of the stress that was going on too, just because it's like, it's an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah, so my boyfriend, he's moving, he lives in Cincinnati now, he's going to move here in December. And then he has to make the drive from here to Cincinnati for work, and he doesn't want to.
Oh,
So
where is he working at? Does he work?
he works at US Bank,
Okay,
but he won't. I don't think he wants to transfer or anything like that. He likes where he is.
he likes Cincy,
but
right.
he just doesn't like to drive.
And
So.
do you need a college degree to get a job at US Bank?
He doesn't know.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, because, and then I guess if you guys would ever go on the same insurance, I guess you could have the kids with his insurance too. I
That's true.
You know
I
what I
didn't think
mean?
about that.
Because it could be either one, you don't even have to be married, they're yours, they're
Mhm.
your alls, so.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that today,
Yeah.
and the importance of self-care, and health insurance is part of that, and being able to do that as a social worker. Hello, how are you?
Tired. I'm
I thought
sorry.
your shirt said addicted to crack for a second.
I told one of my clients doing crack in this shelter. I'm like, what? How's your coming going?
Oh, girl, it's good. I have to fill out the application and turn it in today.
Oh, yeah, what all does that entail? Is that like,
Yeah, she just asked really like simple questions, you know, like why did you
Who
want
was it?
Oh,
Was it
thank you.
Stacy?
Yep.
Yeah, she's being quarantined right now. She's at home now.
Oh, yeah, so that's what we did it at, yeah.
Half of the workers are being quarantined, so.
oh, you did a live interview like on?
Yeah, it was on Zoom.
Oh, yeah, okay. It's a different, monster doing some of this. It's just definitely weird. That's funny. Wow. Well, cool. You're just in time, as I said, we're going to crush through this. You were going to lead your group next week. I forget when you said you
I did the second and third week of November. I have to double check.
That's cool. Yeah, that's perfect. That's the one tricky thing. Like last semester, we all left in March, and only like half of them had led their groups. That's where this filming of the group and putting it in the discussion board.
That happened to me in what, I don't remember what class it was, but we had 4 groups, 3 out of 4 presented, and then we had to leave.
Okay.
So, I don't remember what class that was.
Yeah, it's definitely. Oh, don't die on me now. No. Okay. Is it that way? All right. So this one is. I really just want to get you guys through this since we're starting the groups next week. It's the initial stages of the groups. So in the initial stage of the group, and this, this is general to all groups, so it's not just specifically addiction groups. Why is this not play? Do I have to, I go that way or do I go down? We shall find out. So weird. We just had it up. Can I just click? Oh, there we go. So participants will test the atmosphere and get acquainted. You'll probably notice that even with like the new women that come into the shelter. Does that sound right? Like
We take women, men, and children.
okay. So if you do have a group, like people just testing it, like kind of testing. It's almost like kids testing the boundaries,
Yeah,
seeing
it's
what you can get away with.
It's terrible.
Risk taking is relatively low. They will do some exploration sometimes. The central issues are that trust versus mistrust, kind of like if you're going through the Erickson stages of development, and then inclusion versus exclusion. Most of the groups I led at Claremont Recovery Center, you would see that more than anything, because there's a lot of folks keeping each other accountable and being like, you need to be getting to more meetings, man. You're going to drink again, like just all kinds of that bantering and like, even there could be two sick people that were ready to go out and use again and kind of off to the side in their own conversation. So that's the inclusion versus exclusion. There are periods of silence and awkwardness. That's the part I hate the most. Everybody's different, but for me, I hate the silence part. I'm just, and that's something that is good to learn how to be comfortable with. I'm still learning how to be comfortable with it. Because like in therapy sessions, silence can be used well. So, and then finally, members are deciding how much they will disclose and then how safe the group is. Because you've got that everything is confidential. We only have a duty report if you are a harm to self or harm to others. But then people aren't sure about everyone else. Like I know you as the counselor are going to be legit, but what are you going to go tell her and him and them? So, people are feeling that out. Some of the common fears experienced by group members, the anxiety is over being accepted or rejected. There's a concern about the judgment of others. Well, like that 1980s group we watched where like they're even talking about their thoughts and feelings about like the lady who they thought were judging me or the one was being too quiet. So that's some of the concerns, and this is something we all have, afraid of appearing stupid, appearing not like what's going on or whatever. Concerns about not fitting in the group, not knowing what's expected. And that's usually why you lay down your ground rules, like in Girls Circle, we'll show some of the ground rules that you'll have to share, like if it's passing the baton so that people who speak, only the person who holds the baton speaks. There's concern about communicating feelings and thoughts effectively, certainly in mental health groups. So some advantages of developing a here and now focus, just trying to be in the present moment, and trying to have folks, making sure that's recording. It looks like it is. But I just finished a conference that started this week, and then we had our AAUP meeting, and I have it filmed on YouTube, so I hope it doesn't film all through. Like, I muted it, but it looks like it's working. So dealing with the here and now energizes the group. And why like highs and lows of the week are good, that's still like within the week and checking in and can tell people about how you're feeling today and like how things have gone. Or why maybe you look crappy today because you stayed up all night with the baby or you did something that was, I was telling you when I first got in Tuesday, I went to the hospital, I had pains right here and like here. So everybody's like, go to the hospital. And I'm generally healthy, but you still can have, in your mid-40s, they say it might not even be cholesterol. You can actually have what's called calcium deposits in your veins. Mm-hmm. And it's often from either sugar or alcohol. I was a smoker for 10 years. So I went anyway. They said I was okay. They said take Pepcid AC and Tylenol. And I'm probably going to follow up and do like a stress test too. Like the cardiologist will have you do like the...
Oh, sprinting on the treadmill.
Yeah. So
That's terrible.
If you see me like doing this, I'm making sure I'm like, is it still working? Yeah, I'm still alive. So members are best known by disclosing here and now, experiencing, also being in the here and now serves as a springboard for exploring everyday life concerns. So sometimes just getting real with people too, like your clients can appreciate that. And that's also where you get into the other classes where you learned when is it appropriate to self-disclose, because they always talk about that as social workers. I don't know if anybody's given you guys the answer to that. Like, when is it okay to self-disclose? And it's usually when it's to the benefit of the clients that you're serving. If it's just to talk about yourself all the time because you like to talk about yourself, that's great, but save it for later. If it's to better serve those clients that you're talking with, that's when it's most appropriate to self-disclose, like what's going on in life. So the leader attitude and behaviors that generate trust. This is you guys as the leader, as the social worker. You've got to be careful attending and have genuine listening, which sometimes can be hard when you're busy and things are going on at home and stuff's crazy and you got like your boo texting or whatever going on. You know what I mean? Because like sometimes life happens, and like why I often like to be most honest with people about what's going on, if there is something, if there's like some reason to get that across. Also understanding verbal and nonverbal behavior. I'd say the most important here is that middle word, the empathy, and that's the one I meant to share with you guys the nonviolent communication book, because there's 2 amazing chapters on empathy and how we can do empathy with our clients and how we can have an empathy statement, and how we can share empathy, because it's sometimes hard to do that. Genuineness and self-disclosure. So as the leader, again, self-disclosing when it's going to benefit the clients that you're serving. And then respect and caring confrontation. So I always say in groups, there's that balance between this one and this one. And if you give too much of the empathy or the first one, you could be a total pushover, especially in like a group where you challenge people. And at the end, if you challenge people all the time, you're a total jerk and nobody likes you. And so you've got to balance empathy, challenge, empathy, confrontation, empathy, confrontation, and it's like I said, a caring confrontation. I like the word challenge instead, that you're challenging group members to. I use addictions frequently because that's where I've most worked, but even in the mental health therapy group, like challenging them to self-disclose even more, to share their feelings, share what's really going on so that they don't relapse in whatever way that they could. So establishing goals. I don't know if any agency you all have worked at, you've done the treatment plans where you have goals and objectives. So you also have them in groups. I know you can't bill Medicare or Medicaid unless if you have goals and objectives and you write about the goal on every note that you write. So the main task is helping members formulate clear and specific goals. I often like having people come up with their own goals, like what they want to work on. Addiction recovery is a little easy because often it speaks for itself. Like I want to be sober 90 days. I want to pee clean. I want to get off probation. I want to learn sober leisure activities that help me stay sober. I want, things of that nature. If there's an absence of goals, that may lead to considerable floundering and aimless sessions. And we've all done those before. And again, it might be when you've got too much going on, you don't prepare your group. And that's maybe that's why I'm sometimes averse to group. It does take preparation. You know what I mean? Like you can't often just show up and like fly by night. It does take a little preparation. Now, if you've done it for a while, you've done prepared, you kind of know how to lead that group. So that's helpful. But getting started, especially if it's the first time ever in the first place you've ever led groups, there is some preparation and, like kind of knowing yourself. Maybe it is just getting this class over and done with about leading groups. Then identifying goals. Again, it's a collaborative process. I like to include the clients in here. I do this in my one-on-one clients because if you're just a counselor or social worker saying, you need to work on this, it's probably not going to go over that great. If you have a client saying, I'd like to work on this, and maybe you help them revise it and edit their goal, and then they put it on in writing, that's going to be more successfully completed than if you just told them what to do. If you're just telling people what to do, they're going to be like, whatever, I hate you. And then assist members in goal setting. So use contracts and homework assignments. So sometimes people in therapy will give you homework. It seems weird or sounds weird, but that's kind of how they'll do it. You also have some of the group norms. I forget how many slides this is. Enable a group to attain its goals. And it can be implicit or explicit. So examples of group norms, you have expectations and promptness and regular attendance. The norm of sharing oneself in personal ways, expectation of giving meaningful feedback. So these are some that you could use in your own groups. Members are encouraged to offer both support and challenge to others. So empathy, challenge, empathy, challenge, empathy, challenge. Members functioning within the here and now context. I don't know why that looks like it's written strangely. Members functioning within the here and now context of the group. So being present, being in the present moment. I'm trying to stay in the present moment and stuff. Am I going too fast? Okay. So effective therapeutic relationships. Here's some of the research findings. There is considerable evidence of the importance of a positive therapist-client relationship. So building that rapport, you really got to build the rapport, the stuff we learned in Social Work 101 and Practice 1. It's a contributing factor to positive change in clients. Strive to develop a reasonably open therapeutic style with appropriate and facilitative self-disclosure. So again, you can self-disclose, just have it be appropriate. 3 key constructs capture the essence of the therapeutic relationship in group treatment. So the group climate, the cohesion, and alliances. And one example of that is when we had our trauma group at Lighthouse Youth Services. This was with like 10 and 12-year-olds. We had the one little boy that did not want to be there. He really was sabotaging the whole group for everybody. So we did have to request that he maybe come back when he was ready. And that went along with the client because everyone else was ready and wanted to be there and work through the stuff. And there's this one kid like just messing around all the time. So nobody was getting therapeutic need. With kids, it can be hard, especially teenage kids sometimes. Also, aggressive confrontation cited in reviews of research as the leadership style with the highest risks. So as important as it is to have empathy and challenge, doing the challenge in such a way that it's not, I forget the word they used on that slide in the back. It was like a helpful confrontation, a caring confrontation. If instead you use aggressive confrontation, you might get back the energy you're putting out to your group members. They might get pissed off and then everybody starts getting a bit more aggressive. So that careful confrontation is probably the best. And they've done research on these, so that's why they're putting them out. Did I just skip 2? So the member guidelines to benefit a group, experiment with a new behavior in the group, be aware of misusing jargon. And that I'll refer back to addiction recovery again, as you might think that you're sounding hip with the times with like street jargon and like an addiction recovery group, and you might be like 5 slang words behind or like 5 years behind on slang words, so it doesn't sound so cool. Or using jargon that's like social work research stuff that only makes sense to us as social workers. So having to break it down is helpful and important. Expect some disruption of your life. Expect to discover unfamiliar aspects of yourself because you're also in a therapeutic group with folks. Expect to discover unfamiliar aspects of yourself. Listen closely and discriminatingly. Do not categorize yourself, and keep a journal and do homework assignments in between sessions to maximize your learning. So these are some of the things you can suggest to the members that they take part in this way. Summary of the leader function. So in the initial stage, you'll have the division of responsibility. So like how to achieve a balance of sharing responsibility with members. So I'm even thinking of, in this one, and I don't know if you guys got a chance to look at Alcoholics Anonymous meetings yet, but the way that they split up, they have some people lead it, some people like run the, pick the topic, they have another person read the prayers and the introduction, and even some people help clean up, like when it was in person. Some people pass the basket to pay for the lights or the Zoom fees if they're electronic now. Also having degree of structuring, so create a structure that will enable members to make maximum use of the group process. Opening group sessions, how to best open a group and help members gain a focus. And there, it may be like the girls' circle. I don't remember if you're doing anything from the girls' circle.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I still haven't really
Okay,
decided.
That's
but I
fine.
thought about it.
that's fine. Because they have a ritual, and that's kind of like a way to get them like centered, and maybe like ring the bell and light the candles, and that's when you shut the hell up and listen. If you got teenagers, getting them to shut up, or giving them a snack so their mouth is full and they're not talking all the time. So snacks are good. We often have to save the snack until the middle or the end, because they would have to earn the snack with the 10 and 12-year-olds, because if they were bad, we'd be like, you're not getting snack if you don't act right. And it worked, it really did. And then closing the group sessions, how to best bring a session to closure without closing down further work later on. So just, allowing to keep the flow going, maybe giving them a homework assignment. And it could be something you notice within the time of the group that might benefit them. Summary of the members function. So in the initial stage, the members that you'll be leading, and it might just be a few of us in here and it'll go on to the YouTube live, but if you need to act like there's a fake fourth or fifth person, that's okay too. Actively create a trusting climate and express fears, hopes, concerns, reservations, and expectations regarding the group. Make themselves known, and that could be like the first meeting. Like, what is your fear of this group? Because often groups go 8 to 10 weeks. I know we're just doing one out of those whole series of sessions, but often in the first one, you can have them all say what are their fears and then what are their expectations, and that can be another group session. And make themselves known to others in the group and are involved in the creation of group norms. Establish personal and specific goals that will govern group participation. So maybe even having the group as a group come up with those group goals, so people that are all participating there. And then learning the basics of the group process, especially how to be involved in group interactions. Boom, done.
This is in school, right? Is this in school?
If it's not, remind me, I can like share it, send it or whatever.
Okay.
I actually had my Macintosh that I was pimping up here for a while just blow up yesterday. Like, it doesn't even work. And they give us this like literally this week. So I have nothing on here, but I've got it on my Dropbox. So if it's not there, I can share it with you.
Okay.
And then this computer, I'm still figuring out just because it doesn't have any of the plug things. What do you do for like all those stupid plug things?
Like for your phone or something? Is that what you're saying?
So the phone and or external hard drives and or I guess I do have one that I could plug in because it has the like square and then the C drive plug on the other side. Maybe that can go into one of the hard drives. I don't know. I've never had a computer where they have one port.
I ordered the one that you can attach to your phone off Amazon.
Does it work?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I love it.
Because I ordered one and sent it back only because I was like, I don't want to pay $30 for this. I found something that was 17, but it's not coming for like a week. So, but yes, I can put up all the Corey chapter 5. I put up the addiction groups one because there is sound on those PowerPoints.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's actually worked for you guys or not, but there is sound you can play. But I can put up all the Corey. Corey is a famous group leader. I think I already told you guys that, where he writes with his daughter and granddaughter and great grandson, like Corey, and Corey. They all write and publish about the same stuff. And that's like our joke in group counseling. They're like, was that written by Corey? You're like, yes. So any questions? Like, are you guys, how are y'all feeling? How's this crazy semester and will it ever end?
Well, it doesn't feel like it'll ever end.
I know, it's so
My
weird.
senioritis right now is so bad.
I'm sure I'm getting it as a teacher and I don't think you're supposed to.
But I do have a question on the next assignment, or it's the
Observing the AA meeting
we did that one already.
or leading the group. Okay, I don't know if I.
It was something that's 8 to 15 pages.
Right,
that's
that's
the
the
final
big,
paper.
so that's the big final paper. So that's why it's basically the end of the semester.
Okay.
So you can do either, you can propose your own group and you can use citations from girls group or your workplace that you want to propose your own group, or you can propose a grant. And the grant could be about groups too, but just a grant for anything. I like to make it real life stuff. So if it's for your agency, try to get them $100,000 on grants.gov. And like going through the whole process, and I think I kept on telling you guys I would put up an example of that, is I have several grants that I've written. Like one for Lighthouse we wrote was ending homelessness in 2020.
Oh.
We did win that grant. I don't know if they ended homelessness. I didn't check back this year yet to see if they ended it, but I have a feeling they still got 2 more months. Because it's like, yeah, it's mostly teenage homelessness with Lighthouse. We have 13 to 18 homeless shelter, and then 18 to 24, and they also do like outreach under the bridges in Cincinnati. There's a lot of kids like living in the woods, and they'll bring them sandwiches. Like they're not there to preach to them. They'll just like bring them like clothes and food, and then let them know when they're ready they can come to the homeless shelter. So that's what a lot of I think it was called the street outreach grant. So you have a choice of that or that if you want to propose your own group or propose your own grant.
When you say propose our own group, what do you mean by that? Is that kind of like the assignment that we're doing?
That is, yeah. So the syllabus should break it down. But
It did break it down. I was just kind of confused on when you kept saying group. I was thinking like you were putting us classmates in a group to do something, and I was like, is it a group project?
It's not, because I
Okay.
know most people hate group projects.
No, I am really one of those. I have only 2 weeks right now.
Because you'll end up being the only person who does work.
That does
so no, this is you proposing
Okay.
your own group for a mental health agency.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Or even proposing an agency you want to start on your own, like something that's realistic to your life, to what you want to do with your career. So proposing, and yeah, I like it to be real and applicable to real life, and something that, I always say that about research. In grad school, I always did the same topic, and you keep building on it and make it something that you love and you will always do for the rest of your life, so you don't get burnt out. And mine was refugee resettlement with horticulture therapy at our food pantry at St. Leo's, and I still am not completely burnt out of that. I had a little burnout, and social work you can switch jobs, and but the key is do something that you love, that you have a passion for, so you don't burn out.
Yeah.
And then you become an expert in your little niche somewhere. So I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it did, definitely did, because you did a good job of explaining it on the syllabus.
Okay.
That was so simplified, like,
I-
it seemed really easy. I thought I was like,
I probably stole that syllabus from Dr. Allen. Like, hey, Dr. Allen, you got a
That's-
syllabus I can use? Because I am dyslexic and I'm not the best at explaining and writing.
mm-hmm. Yeah, that was.
I can do it in person a little better, but I'm not going to say. Any more questions for the camera? I was going to end the stream, but I guess we're at 43 minutes. I guess we started right on time. Yeah, there's only 3 big projects in this class.
Yeah.
So observe a group, lead a group, and then propose a group.
With the observing a group, I turned my assignment in, but I don't know if I did it, because the group that I observed, they were called Stepsisters, but I don't know if I came in on the wrong day or what, but they weren't really, they were discussing a little bit, but they were working from a book this week.
That sounds right.
They were, is that how it goes?
They work from the book that's called Alcoholics Anonymous. So what were they doing, like going over the steps?
They were just going over, and then each woman would talk about like what part that they read. It was basically like you said, homework. So remember, I guess the week before they had homework.
Really?
On Friday, well, that's when I went on Friday, last Friday, they just talked about parts of the book. So it was one lady named Margot, she was the leader, and it was like 3 other women, and each woman like talked about parts of the whatever part they read.
Okay.
And then they talked about how it made them feel. And
What step were they on?
Oh, I can't even remember.
Like, were they
I
writing?
go home, I wrote down lots of
Okay.
stuff in my other notebook. If I was to go home and probably go back and see, I could probably, but I remember one lady, she was talking about how she had relapsed, maybe that's what that was, but she was talking about how her husband had passed away. away, or I mean, he was
Oh,
getting
yeah.
really sick, and that's what helped her stop, I guess, like stop. She was sober at one point, then he got really sick, then she started back drinking again, then he ended up dying, and then she like full blown got back into it. Now she's slowly trying to
Okay.
get sober.
So they might have been writing inventory or in the amends process, or even step one where it's admitted they are powerless over alcohol and their lives are unmanageable. So they'll do step studies where you basically, all the steps are contained within like pages, the first 164 pages of that 400-page book. So
Okay,
it might have seemed a little boring
yeah,
to you,
I
but
thought I came on like the wrong day, 'cause I thought it was gonna be more of like
discussion,
a
open,
discussion,
right,
yeah, but
right.
it was more of like the book.
Yeah, that's interesting. So did they even acknowledge your presence?
Yeah, Miss Margot, she asked me to read, like,
Okay.
well, at first how they started with a prayer, and then after the prayer, they did the preamble, and then that's when they just hopped into the reading. She was like, would you like to read? And I messaged her and I told her that I was, like I was here for a class, if that was okay. Even though my meeting was open, she still asked, she was like, even though the meeting's open,
Okay.
are you guys okay with her being here? And that kind of showed me, I guess, that everybody somewhat had a relationship with each other already.
Right.
They've been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
Everybody was pretty cool, they let me,
Okay.
they let me understand. And then afterwards, they let me talk about how I felt about the meeting and stuff like that. And then the lady, Miss Margot, who was the leader, me and her actually talked afterwards, as I told her I was doing this for class and social work and stuff like that. And she ended up giving me her number and stuff.
Okay.
She said something about she had history in therapy, and then she said she had her master's as well.
Sure.
That's what she told me, yeah.
Interesting.
So she said that her daughter is a social worker out in Cincinnati. I can't remember her name. But she told me that I could text her, and then, if her daughter's comfortable, she can give me some tips and stuff on stuff like that.
Interesting.
That's how that was. But yeah, she told me, she was like, I have a little history in therapy, and then she was like, I also have my master's, but she said that to like me, like it was one-on-one.
Right, right.
But
Oh.
at the beginning, she talked and she was like, I'm an alcoholic.
Right.
So,
Wow, that is amazing. It's you never know what you're going to get in some of those
yeah.
groups. So
I was kind of shocked though.
I like that they have the open meetings so you know that you're welcome. You know what I mean? That's why the AA meetings, ever since we started doing those at UC in 2009, I love that they show you right up front it's open or closed, and it's about like 50-50. And you are welcome there if it's open. I'm glad they asked too. Some people are like, oh wait, I don't even know what an open and closed
Yeah,
meeting
and that's
is.
kind of what I was hoping she would ask, because I don't know, for me, I kind of think that's kind of different, especially with everything being
Yes.
online too.
Yes.
It's kind of like you don't really know who you're talking to or
I know.
who the other person is.
Yeah.
Some people don't have their faces on, so
Yep.
that's you're being really vulnerable in my opinion.
I
with doing
agree.
it like that. So.
Did they have a passcode for you to type in?
Oh yeah, it was
Okay.
on Zoom. It was like the little, like the little number, and then you put the little
Okay.
passcode and stuff like that. It was all up there, but it was really a link I just had to click. But then there were some that were, I think you had to ask for or you had to get that information somehow.
Right,
It was
yeah.
some that were a little difficult to get into.
There are, and that's because the very beginning of the pandemic, there are people Zoom bombing those things too, and they get on and like flash pornography and say cuss words
Oh, just
and
the
like
wild stuff, yeah.
it was a mess, and I'm glad that they fixed that, because that would be, if you were like observing as a student and then they get Zoom bombed, what a terrible experience. Like, this is dumb. Like, or a new person trying to get sober, and the first meeting you go to, like, you're called slurs or whatever it is, and like that's messed up, because that's what was happening. So, well, I'm glad. Yeah, that is a good one. I'm still surprised you guys don't do that in any other classes. So.
No, this is my first one.
Okay.
And I had that one with Dr. Allen and Dr. Ebony as well. So I was kind of like, it was a little different. And then I took general practice with Dr. Ebony over the summer. But we basically just worked on, role playing and how to be empathetic and sympathetic and what to say, what not to say, and all that stuff during the summer. So,
empathy statements, because she has her own private practice. Too.
Yeah, she was telling us that. Yeah.
I don't know if she's supposed to like tell the university. So
Right.
maybe that's why.
Yeah.
You're allowed like one day of work outside. So if you're doing exactly one day of work outside of Central State, you'll probably talk about it. But if you're doing like a day and a half, you don't talk about it as much because it's like, what do they call it?
Would they say it's conflict? They kind of say it's conflict or something?
Well, it's moonlighting, and they might think you won't have enough energy to devote to your full-time thing here.
Oh.
So like if you're working 2 or 3 places, if you tell somebody, they'll be like, well, you're moonlighting, so, which I don't even remember what that means. But I mean, you're like sneaking out of the house at night and not telling anybody and like working somewhere else and come, but it's called moonlighting for some reason. And you are allowed, because as a social worker, we should practice social work, and I'm glad they give us that day to practice, because otherwise we'll end up being like a lot of the other teachers I've seen, and they don't even practice anymore at all. They're like, they still hold their license, but they don't really practice.
I think that's cool.
I know, I agree.
Like,
Don't say that to the big universities, because most of them are busy publishing articles, and that in and of itself is a full-time job, but I think it's so important to stay delved into practice.
Yeah.
Like, how else do you teach about it if you're not doing it? So that is all we have. I can give you all of these, Corey. These are pretty good. Corey does a good breakdown of all the different groups. Corey. Oh, it is. It's Moran Schneider Corey, Gerald Corey, and Cindy Corey. I love that they're all like related and they wrote this book. But
That's too much fun together.
I know, right?
I couldn't sit in the room with my family longer than 2 hours.
Right. So do you guys have a download for Central State Word and PowerPoints? Microsoft Office?
No.
Like, there used to be a free download of all that
I've
software.
heard about it, but I never used it just because at the time my job offered it for me. So
Right.
I had it, but I don't know how to access it on the central way.
Yeah, I have no idea how
I've heard
to,
of it.
but I will download it for next week. I'm glad it worked in Dropbox, because otherwise we'd be in trouble. Maybe it's in my CSU. Or I guess you would search like Microsoft. There's one. Well, I do not have anything else. I'm excited for your group next week. Is that 29?
I think so.
That's crazy.
And you're doing it here. Can you like try to wait? It's like 5:45.
Because you're coming all the way from Dayton,
Yes,
right?
I'm trying, and today it was traffic, bro, like.
And are you
And take the
working?
back roads.
Do you work till 5 and then you
What
gotta?
that- Ohio's nothing but back roads.
Girl, I don't know the express
Nothing
way.
but back roads.
When you have to express, I'm sorry.
No, I just didn't know if you like had to work till 5:30, then you're hustling